Alright guys, so today I've got for you here a comparison between the OnePlus 7 Pro and the Poco F2 Pro. I've got here the purple version of the Poco F2 Pro and the Nebula blue version of the OnePlus 7 Pro, although it's been wrapped. And this is the 8 gig 256 gig version, and the Poco F2 Pro is the 6 gig 128 gig version. Well, I'm not going to bore you with any more specs. We'll just get straight into the comparison. First thing that should be addressed is the build quality. I'll give that one to the OnePlus 7 Pro. It feels more dense, if you know what I'm trying to say. Yeah, the curves don't hurt at all. The way the screen curves to the sides, to the center rail, and then the back curves with the exact same radius. It just feels more rounded, more complete. It feels great. But that's not to say that the Poco doesn't feel good. It feels good. It feels premium as well. It feels excellent. It just feels a bit more boxy, I suppose. The sides seem a bit flatter. The screen is flat. Obviously, it has a bit more of an edge to it. I guess a bit rough. See, they're both excellent. They both have Gorilla Glass on the front and on the back. But in terms of design, I feel like I'm leaning towards the OnePlus. Maybe it's something to do with the skin. I don't know. But I just feel as though the OnePlus 7 Pro perhaps has it in the design. But I quite like the F2 Pro, especially this matte, or the electric purple. It has a really nice feel to it. It doesn't leave many obvious fingerprints, but it does get smudged. And it's somewhat difficult to clean. It's not as easy as the gloss, but I guess at the same time it's probably not going to show scratches like a gloss finish would. But I quite like how it feels. And they both have USB-C. They both have dual SIM. The Poco F2 has the singular downward firing speaker, the earpiece does not act as a secondary speaker. It has an IR blaster, a pop-up camera, and the headphone jack right there, which is something that is missing in the OnePlus. It's got a pop-up camera as well, microphone for noise cancelling, USB-C, dual SIM slot, speaker, downward firing speaker, and secondary speaker. So it's got dual speaker system. I guess the one thing these two do share in common is that they both have uninterrupted displays, no notches, no cutouts, nothing of that sort. They both have pop-up cameras. But while I'm here with this pop-up camera, it is worth mentioning, because I have found this very interesting, is that the Poco F2 Pro's pop-up camera is a tiny bit faster than the OnePlus 7 Pro. So if I do a quick speed test here, center that, see that? Anyway, the volume buttons on the OnePlus 7 Pro are on the left. And on the other side, on the opposite side, you have the power button and the silencer. I've forgotten the correct term for this, but you can switch between vibrate, ring, and silent. But anyway, the point I'm raising here is that I do not like the placement of the volume rocker and the power button on opposite sides, because what ends up happening is that sometimes when I'm going in, like I'm holding the phone like this, right? Because to reach the volume button, you have to hold it like this. But what ends up happening is that when I try to press volume down, I take a screenshot because of the placement of the power button to the placement of the volume button. Anyway, they both have under-screen fingerprint scanners. In terms of which one is fastest, or the placement is, well, the one on the Poco F2 Pro is placed higher up than the one on the OnePlus, so it can be it is taking some getting used to get used to the Poco F2 Pro's placement, because I've gotten used to the placement of the OnePlus 7 Pros, which is quite a bit further down. So in terms of speed, I don't know. I do not know. Now that I'm doing them side by side, it appears to me that perhaps the F2 Pro is a tad bit faster. Let's try that again. Yep, the F2 Pro is faster. In terms of displays, let me make sure I've maxed them out. What is quite surprising to me is that I thought, moving from the OnePlus 7 Pro to the Poco F2 Pro, that I wouldn't like the display on the F2 Pro, because the OnePlus 7 Pro is an AMOLED screen, 2K resolution, and 90 hertz, and I've been using it at full resolution and 90 hertz since I got it. I have gotten used to it, and I thought I would have an issue moving to the F2 Pro, which is 60 hertz. But I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm not mad. I am not mad at all. I will be honest with you, when I did first start setting up the F2 Pro, I could tell that the screen was not as fast. I did feel it was quite a bit slower, but after a few minutes using it, I got used to it. It is no longer an issue to me. It is clearly faster. It clearly is. I don't know, I just don't care. It is not that big a deal to me. It really is not. I have gotten used to it, so I'm not fussed whether it's 90 hertz or 60 hertz. I'm really not. In terms of the quality of the displays, this is where I'm somewhat puzzled. It has to be said, the display on the Poco F2 Pro has a nicer appearance than that on the OnePlus 7 Pro. The F2 Pro actually gets brighter. It is a brighter display. The display on the OnePlus 7 Pro is sharper. It is a 2K display, 1440p compared to 1080p. It is sharper on paper, but in actual use, in practice, I can't tell the difference. At a normal distance, I cannot tell the difference. I will be honest, when I started setting up the phone, obviously I held it closer up to my face, I could tell the difference. It was somewhat a little bit fuzzy around the text, but at a normal distance, like this distance here, you can't tell. So again, I'm not mad. 1080p, 1440p, but this screen is brighter. It is definitely brighter, and the colors are just as good, if not better. Because here's the thing, if we go into display and we go into color scheme, screen calibration, you see here I've got the OnePlus 7 Pro on P3, and you can also have the Poco F2 Pro in P3. Now, what I did not expect is that when I set them both to P3, which I personally prefer, they show very similar colors. It's almost indistinguishable between the two displays. They are very similar. The colors are almost exactly the same. I guess it makes sense because they've been calibrated to P3, so they should all show the same colors, which they mostly do. But it has to be said that the OnePlus 7 Pro is just not as bright as the Poco F2 Pro. So, right, okay. So both displays are maxed out. Can you tell the difference between the colors on either screen? Because I can't. They look pretty much identical to me. With the display set to the P3, they look almost indistinguishable from each other. Can you see a difference in sharpness? Because the OnePlus 7 Pro, like I mentioned, is 1440p, and the Poco F2 Pro is 1080p. Can you tell the difference in the sharpness? No, I can't. I cannot tell the difference in the sharpness. They look just as sharp as each other. But as you can see, the F2 Pro is brighter. It is definitely brighter, which I find very interesting. Now, let's take this opportunity to test out the speakers.
I love the private club. I love the private club. I don't got room in my closet. I'm about to make. I take a flight out of heartbeat. I'm about to land.
Even with the singular setup, bottom firing speaker of the Poco F2 Pro, it still manages to be louder than the dual setup of the OnePlus 7 Pro. It is just louder. It also sounds richer, deeper. Perhaps it doesn't spread the sound as much as the OnePlus does because it's got a stereo setup, but it still sounds better. It's still louder. And when you've got audio playing, you can literally feel the whole phone vibrate, and that's how powerful the speaker is. It's incredible. It's amazed me how the Poco F2 Pro cost what it does. This phone is supposed to cost $499, which is interesting because this phone certainly did not cost $499. I paid, when I got it, about £580 for it, so not the £420 I got this one for. It has to be said, this screen is brighter, it looks better to me. I don't know how Xiaomi did it. It's a Samsung display, I suppose. They're both Samsung displays, so it does make sense. But that is the brighter screen. That is easier to see outdoors. The speaker on that sounds better, so it's a win for the Poco. One thing that has to be mentioned, the gestures on the Poco F2 Pro doesn't give you the option to switch back to apps. If I'm in home and I want to switch back to an app, I cannot, which is a tad annoying. But what I can do is that switch to the previous app. On the OnePlus, you have the option, just open similar apps here. You have the option to switch to the next app. It's one thing worth bearing in mind. The Poco F2 Pro has the latest and greatest Snapdragon 865. The OnePlus 7 Pro has the previous 855. Is there much of a difference in performance? Is there something you're going to notice in day-to-day usage? I'll say yeah, it is. I have definitely noticed that the Poco F2 Pro is somewhat more responsive than the OnePlus 7 Pro. I don't know if it's because the screen is a bit more sensitive, which it feels. The OnePlus 7 Pro can be temperamental sometimes. I don't know what it is. Sometimes when the screen starts dimming because the display is timing out and you want to wake it back up again, you tap it and nothing will happen. Like it's like it just ignores your touches. I don't know why, but sometimes it does it and it drives me crazy. Anyway, that's just one of the few bugs that the OnePlus 7 Pro has. I've not really noticed much with the, see? It did it right there. Did you see that? Anyway, in terms of speed, I have noticed that the Poco F2 Pro does feel a bit more snappy in terms of opening apps. So let's just do a few app opening speed tests to just see which one opens faster. Music, F2 Pro, Chrome, F2 Pro. While we're here, let's do a quick internet speed test, because one thing that bugs me and annoys me about the OnePlus 7 Pro is how poor the Wi-Fi performance is. Just can't fathom it. Let me show you what the difference is. The Wi-Fi router is just to my right. They are both on the same Wi-Fi. Let's make sure of that. See, same Wi-Fi. So now let's run a speed test. Please explain this. This is what I've been dealing with for a long time now. This is unacceptable. This is actually quite pathetic. And you can see that for yourself on the same Wi-Fi network. I don't know what happened. The OnePlus 7 Pro hasn't always been this bad. It's not been the best, but it's not been this bad. The Wi-Fi performance, top notch on the Poco F2 Pro, absolutely horrendous on the OnePlus 7 Pro. I can't explain why. Also horrendous on the OnePlus 7 Pro is the network performance. Calls are not as good as the Poco F2 Pro. The signal, not as good as the F2 Pro. I always drop calls in this house. I don't know why, but I've not had any issues with the Poco F2 Pro. So in terms of radio performance, it's the Poco F2 Pro, I'm afraid. You get the idea. Obviously 865, it's going to be faster than the 855, but I will say the 855 is not bad at all. It will do you just fine. When it comes to gaming, the Poco F2 Pro is clearly the better choice in terms of performance. You have the newer CPU, it stays cooler, it can go longer without throttling, which is what you need for gaming, except you capped at 60 frames per second because of the 60 Hz refresh rate, in which case the 7 Pro does have the advantage because it has the 90 Hz refresh rate. But the question is, how many games support 90 frames per second? I don't know. I don't think there's that many. Even if there are games out there that support 90 Hz, is the phone powerful enough to push said 90 Hz as a decent quality? And that's the other question, because it is running the order 855. So I guess it just depends on what you're after. You either want the most power you can get, in which case the F2 Pro, or potentially a smoother 90 frames per second experience, in which case the OnePlus 7 Pro. I suppose you pick your poison. Cameras, in terms of how it compares to the OnePlus 7 Pro, I feel like it's better. At least in adequate to outdoor conditions, it's better. In low light, the OnePlus 7 Pro is better. I feel like the OnePlus software, though it's not the best, still better than Poco's software in terms of night shots. Video, I feel like perhaps the OnePlus 7 Pro has an advantage there because the stabilization is a bit better. On the Poco F2 Pro, it's electronic image stabilization and it's not the best, but I will insert some sample shots and videos into the video so you can observe that for yourself. This one's limited to 5 minutes. In terms of which one I believe to be the more fun camera setup, that goes to the Poco F2 Pro. That 5 megapixel macro sensor, absolutely fantastic. It gives you a completely different perspective, completely different. And unlike previous 2 megapixel macro sensors, it doesn't suck. It is actually pretty good. The camera setup on the OnePlus is not the worst. It really isn't. I just think that's in terms of camera, I feel like the Poco F2 Pro has it in terms of images anyway. When it comes to videos, perhaps the OnePlus 7 Pro has the advantage there. Look through the sample images and videos that I've put into the video, and you let me know in the comment section which one you think is the better one. MIUI has so many handy features. I know how everyone goes on about Oxygen OS and how clean it is and how fluid and fast and all this stuff, and I can't disagree, but all that is to me is just boring. It is simply too stale, and I'm not a fan of that. MIUI is just better. Well, the settings the settings menu is complicated and a bit messy, but overall I prefer what MIUI brings to the table to what Oxygen OS brings to the table. It has so many handy features. It has that IR blaster, so you have that universal Mi remote. You have options like dual apps, so you can have 2 WhatsApps. If you have 2 different numbers, you want 2 different WhatsApps on there, you can. You can't do that on the OnePlus 7 Pro unless you download third-party apps. The keyboard, one thing that really annoys me with the keyboard is this gap here. What is this? Why is that there? I don't want wasted space, you know? I don't know why OnePlus does this. It doesn't give you the option to get rid of it either. I don't like that. And the annoying thing is sometimes when you type in, depending on what app you're in, when you tap outside of the space, it gets rid of the keyboard. Why? Here, no such issue. I like that. More of this, less of that. Neither of them have an IP rating because, well, they have pop-up cameras. Of course they don't. So that is not a factor here. Haptics is better and stronger on the Poco F2 Pro than it is on the OnePlus 7 Pro. In fact, the haptics with the keyboard, the sensitivity, I have left it on. I usually turn the haptics off. I have turned it off on the OnePlus because it always feels a little bit off. I feel as though it is always playing catch up with my inputs, and I really don't like that. That's why I turn off the haptics. So the haptics is not as good as the Poco F2 Pro, and the screen doesn't seem as sensitive as the Poco F2 Pro. But the Poco F2 Pro, it feels as though it reacts immediately when I touch it, and it buzzes immediately when I touch it. So that's fantastic on the Poco F2 Pro. OnePlus 7 Pro, the haptics, not so brilliant. To me anyway, it just seems a bit slow somehow. The biggest one, battery life. On the OnePlus 7 Pro, the battery life was decent. It was okay. I used to average 7 hours, sometimes 8. I took this off charge last night around 11 o'clock or so. So there's 40% battery left here. You see it's been off charge for 14 hours, 31 minutes, 21 seconds. And if you look at the screen on time, almost 7 hours. Which is interesting because there's 40% battery left. This is easily the best battery performer I have ever had. There's still 40% left and it's 3 o'clock. And I took it off charge 11 o'clock last night. So the battery performance on this, fantastic. So to conclude, I would recommend, well, that's what I'm doing anyway. I'm keeping the F2 Pro. I'm selling my OnePlus 7 Pro. The F2 Pro is just the better device. It just is. For my needs, for what I use it for, it is just a better device. I don't take many pictures at night. F2 Pro during the day, for me, is just better. That macro lens, I don't know why everyone keeps saying it's a gimmick. To me, it's not a gimmick. It is brilliant. It just, the macro sensor on F2 Pro, fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. It makes taking pictures so much fun. So much fun. I've had so much fun trying to get all these different perspectives and trying to, you know what, I might just take a macro shot of this right here. Look at that. Absolutely brilliant. Look at the textures and just brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. I love this phone. I've not had, usually like with my Mate 20 Pro, when I had it, something just felt right about it. It just felt right. But when I replaced it with the OnePlus 7 Pro, from the moment I pulled out of the box, something just didn't sit right with me at all. I just didn't vibe with it. It just didn't feel right. But with the F2 Pro, it just feels so right. If you're gonna ask me which one would I pick, obviously I'm picking the F2 Pro. I just am. It's just a better device if you ask me. I like the OnePlus 7 Pro. It serves me well, but the F2 Pro is it. Oh, I forgot to mention, this has an always on display and OnePlus 7 doesn't. Look at that.